Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the Apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. The topic for this program is the imminence of World War III. And we will be looking at chapter 7 from Daniel, because there are 7 prophecies in Daniel's chapter number 7, which must occur before World War III breaks out. And the election of Barack Obama as the President of the United States fulfills the 6th of these 7 prophecies. Now let's take a closer look at Daniel's chapter number 7, where he reveals the 4 great beasts which come up out of the sea and their importance as far as World War III is concerned. In verse number 3, Daniel writes, "And 4 great beasts, different one from another, came up out of the sea." And in verse number 17, Daniel writes, "These 4 great beasts are 4 kingdoms which shall arise out of the earth." Notice in 17, the angel tells Daniel that the beasts come out of the earth, while back in verse number 3, they come up out of the sea. The reason is because the beast symbolizes both a nation and the leader of that nation. This is very important for us to understand. In verse number 7, Daniel describes the New World Order. "After this I beheld in the vision of the night a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and exceedingly strong. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped with its feet. And it was different than all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. These 10 horns are the leaders of the world's nations of today, and they will all support the New World Order." In verse number 8, Daniel writes, "I considered the horn, and behold another little horn, sprung out of the midst of them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked up." The little horn is the Antichrist. He comes out of the midst of the 10 world leaders who support the one world government. When the 3 kings are plucked up, that plucking up refers to World War III. Now notice in this passage, Daniel writes, "before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked up." In other words, World War III occurs before the Antichrist makes his public appearance. Even though the Antichrist will instigate World War III from behind the scenes, we will not know his identity until the second half of the Great Tribulation. In verse number 8, we noticed 4 horns, the little horn of the Antichrist and the 3 horns which he plucks up. Here in verse number 9, we will find that there are also 4 attributes of Almighty God. "I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days sat, whose garment was white as snow," number 1, "and the hair of his head like pure wool," number 2. "His throne was like a fiery flame," number 3, "and his wheels as burning fire." Now in the next verse, we will find that Daniel uses the word 1,000 also 4 times. "A swift stream of fire issued forth from before him. Thousands upon thousands ministered to him, and 10,000 times 100,000 stood before him." This is the 3rd consecutive verse where the number 4 is extremely important. There are 4 very important numbers in all end times apocalyptic literature. The numbers 4, 7, 12, and 28. Back in chapter 4, Daniel uses the number 7 4 times. Here in chapter 7, he uses the number 4 at least 7 times. There are 4 winds that blow on the sea. There are 4 beasts. There are 4 horns, as we've already seen. We will find out that there are 4 heads on the leopard, 4 wings on the leopard. And as we have just mentioned, there are 3 4s in 3 consecutive verses of Daniel. None of this numerology is accidental. In fact, if you will look at the structure of chapter 7, you will see that it is broken up into 4 different sections of 7 verses each. Very much like the weeks in a month. 7 days in each week, 4 weeks in a month. Daniel's extensive use of the number 4 and the number 7 in both numerology and in his structure indicates that chapter number 7 is an end times chapter. Now let's look at the beasts which come up out of the sea, because we will need to know their identities if we are going to understand the very near imminence of World War III. In verse number 4, Daniel writes, "The first was like a lioness and had eagle's wings. I beheld till her wings were plucked off, and she was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon her feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to her." Now most Bible scholars understand that this is an end times reference to England. And the wings that are broken off symbolize her colonies, particularly the United States. In verse number 5, Daniel describes another beast. "And behold, a second beast, like a bear, stood up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between the teeth, and they said to it, Arise and devour much flesh." Again, most Bible scholars understand that this bear must be communist Russia. Standing on one side means that it has leftward political leanings. The 3 ribs in the mouth indicate that it devours much flesh. In other words, it maintains control over its neighbors. Since these beasts represent both a nation and its leader, it's interesting that the bear, which is Russia, is currently led by a premier called Dmitry Medvedev. Medvedev refers to a bear in Russian. And the next beast which comes up out of the sea, the leopard, should be of most concern to us as Americans, because this leopard represents the United States and its leader, Barack Obama. After this I saw another beast, like a leopard, which had on its back the 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. The leopard has a skin which is both black and white. That symbolizes the racial makeup of America. The 4 wings symbolize the 4 military branches of our government: the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. The 4 heads symbolize our 4 branches of government: Senate, House, President, and Supreme Court. And the dominion indicates the power given to the United States. We are considered the world's lone superpower. We need to understand that no nation in the world fulfills this prophecy of Daniel like the United States of America. When some false prophet tells you that Germany or some other country is the leopard, ask them, where is Germany's dominion over other nations? What are the 4 heads of Germany? What are the 4 wings of Germany? But more importantly, who is the leader of Germany who represents the leopard? In our recent election in the United States, we elected the leopard which Daniel is talking about. Barack Obama is the leopard because his skin, like the leopard, is both black and white. The 4 wings on the leopard and the 4 heads symbolize that Barack Obama is the 44th President of the United States. And dominion has certainly been given to Barack Obama. We need to remember that the 3 nations who are plucked up, the bear, the lion, and the leopard, are Russia, England, and America. They will destroy each other in World War III. This war will be instigated behind the scenes by the Antichrist. With the election of Barack Obama, one more piece in the puzzle has been found. We also need to understand that God does not prophesy these events to us in order to scare us, but rather to prepare us. Now, if you would like more information, simply write to the address you see on your screen.